Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to make a build video on Mesa. So Mesa, if you don't know, is the gunslinger of Warframe. So Mesa's abilities, let's go ahead and take a look at those. Your passive, you shoot dual-wield sidearms 15% faster and reload single-handed sidearms 25% faster. Gain 50% bonus health when not using melee weapons. So you really don't want to touch melee on this one if you don't have to. And then your first ability, Ballistic Battery. When activated, this stores damage caused by guns. When triggered, your next gunshot will be empowered based on how much you've stored up. Your second ability is Shooting Gallery. Shooting Gallery gives allies extra damage while jamming nearby enemy weapons. And the power will bounce around between your teammates. I assume it's whoever's closest to the enemies, if I'd have to guess. Your third ability is your Sword of Survivability. It's Scatter Shield. We gain 95% damage reduction just on a cooldown and a duration, which is pretty nice. And then your fourth ability is Peacemaker. You whip out the dual revolvers and you just kind of go nuts with them. So those are Mesa's abilities. They're not too crazy, but let me kind of show you how they work here. So our first ability, we have Ballistic Battery active. And then as you shoot in the top right, you'll see the little icon. It's at 100% fully charged. And then normally I do about 11k on a headshot. But when I activate it, it goes into my next shot, and then it lets all of the damage out at one go. So let's go ahead and store up some more damage, fully charged, and dump. So just makes your next shot stronger. I don't really use it too much, but it's nice that it's there. And then for our second ability, let me go ahead and reset the AI so they actually move around. Alrighty, so our second ability, it disables their guns. You can see there they're jammed. And then our third ability is 95% damage reduction. So we have Shooting Gallery active, and you can see they're having trouble shooting us anyways. But we have our 3 active, which also gives us damage reduction for when they are able to shoot us. But it's only 95%, so it's nothing like super insano style. And then our fourth ability is Mesa's Regulators. So the Regulators, if you haven't used them before, you quite literally, you just walk them down. Or stand still, depending on how you build Mesa. And it jammed his gun, even though it was still active. But you get this big reticle on your screen, and then you just hold it down, and the reticle will get smaller and smaller. And you just have to keep the person you want to kill inside the reticle of your 4, and then they go down, and we took out that whole row there. So that's kind of how Mesa's abilities work. And for companion pairing, I'm using an Adarza Kavat. The only reason I'm using the Adarza Kavat specifically is for this little augment it has here, Cat's Eye. Grants 60% increased crit chance for 10 seconds to allies within 25 meters every 20 seconds. So it's just extra crit chance, but you don't have to. You can use any companion, that's not mandatory. But I'm using it on Mesa. So with the abilities for Mesa shown off, let's go ahead and jump into a Steel Path mission, and I can show you what Mesa can actually do. Alrighty, now we are here in the Steel Path on Deimos. So, can show off Mesa's abilities and what Mesa can really do in Steel Path. So I'm going to go ahead and activate my DR, and I'll go ahead and activate the Weapon Jammer. I don't think it'll do anything to these guys because they don't have guns. We'll activate our 4 here. And this is pretty much your loop for Mesa. You just kind of walk them down with your pistols. And as long as you have energy, you can just burn through anything that comes on your screen. I've been using Mesa in the 1999 stuff a lot, and Mesa's pretty cool. I don't know if they're like a new favorite of mine or anything like that, but cool nonetheless, because you just have these revolvers that you can just walk down the enemies with. And then you have damage reduction, weapon jamming, and all that nice stuff. I will say if you're looking for a helmet for Mesa, what I would probably swap off personally would be either Mesa's 1 or Mesa's 2, because those are the ones that I use the least comparatively to the other abilities. If you are going to switch something, I think those would be the 2 abilities that I would be looking at to get rid of, because your 3 is your damage reduction, so you kinda need that. And then your 4 obviously is your regulators. I don't think a timeline exists where you don't keep those on Mesa. I do know my regulator setup has a little bit of improvements that I want to make myself. Like, I think I don't have Lethal Torrent on them yet, because I just need more Forma to do it. Because it takes up a good amount of energy. I believe it's like 13 energy for that one mod. And I just don't have the space with my current setup on there. There we go. Let's go ahead and activate our shield. Bone Widow? What are you doing here? But Mesa's pretty good. I'd argue Mesa's probably one of the better, stronger frames in the game for Steel Path. Just because you have your utility, and let's go ahead and disable weapons if they can even be disabled on these guys. Alrighty, now we are here in the back rooms to check out the fashion and then go over the build for Mesa. So, for our fashion, I have just default Mesa skin and helmet. I have the Mesa Noble animation set. For attachments, I have the Dex Rasaka shoulders, which were from the anniversary event. I'm not sure you can get them anymore, so you might have to wait for that to come back around if you want these. We have the Protovire Ephemera, the default one, rather than the upgraded ones, because I think the default one looks the best with this current setup. And then we have the Motesque Ephemera, which is from the Jade Shadows update. I'm not sure if you can still get this, or maybe you can in the shop, or the market, or it's probably here for Platinum, actually. But I got it back when Jade was still coming out. And then for Syandana, I have the Mithra Syandana, which gives us these little glowing trails on our back that I've made red. And then for our colors, primary is white. Any white will work. Same for the secondary. And then our tertiary is red, which I went with the top of the Halloween palette. But you could also use this one on the Valentine's palette. It'll just be a little less vibrant. And then you could also use this red on the Stalker palette, but same thing. You can see it's a lot darker on the Stalker. So I went with that one. And then our accent colors, this is our gold, so I didn't really mess with it all. But if you really want to, you could match the red, but I kind of like the gold accents. And then energy and emissives are both the same red as before. And then for our attachments, it's all of the same red from before, but our accent color is from the Potentia banner. And it is, I believe, this color right here. But aside from that, for our Syandana, same thing. Any white will work, any red you want will work, and then our accents, it's the same on the Potentia banner. It is right here. But that is the fashion for Mesa, and then for the regulators, I just did the same thing. White for the primary and secondary, energy is red, and then the accents are gold, so we have the golden revolvers. With that being said, I have two builds for you for today for Mesa. Our first build is our main setup. For Aura mod, we have Growing Power, which gives us ability Strength. Some people like to run, I believe it's Combat Discipline at a base rank, but I'm not a big fan of the Combat Discipline, so I've just gone with Growing Power. And then we have Streamline for some efficiency, Flow or Primed if you have it, Rolling Guard as like a little panic button kind of deal just in case. You don't have to run this, you could swap on Adaptation or anything else. This is a flexible slot. Primed Continuity for more duration, Umbral Intensify for ability Strength. If you don't have this, you can make do with just regular. Energy Nexus, which gives us 3 energy regen a second. If you don't want this, you could run Equilibrium or whatever. This is also a flexible slot, but I like Energy Nexus here. We have Transient Fortitude for some more ability Strength. And then we have Blind Rage for even more Strength, which gives us 230%, not factoring Molt Augmented here. And then we have Arcane Velocity on critical hit, 90% chance for 40% fire rate to pistols. And then for our Exilis, we have Mesa's Waltz, which lets us walk around and roll while we have our 4 active. If you're not a Waltz enjoyer, because I know a lot of people aren't, I would throw on something like Power Drift for even more strength, or you could throw on something like Mobilize, would probably be pretty solid on Mesa. But I'm a big enjoyer of Power Drift, or if you want to and you have it, Prime Sure-Footed, because everyone knows that's a massive damage increase. And then for our more budget setup, it would look something like this. We have any aura here, but Growing Power ideally. Energy Nexus, which I believe you're able to get pretty early. If not, then you can skip on this mod. Adaptation for damage resistance, Vitality for some health, Intensify for some strength, Flow for energy, and Continuity for duration. These two do not matter. You don't need these on this beginner setup. But this is what a more budget setup would look like. You could also even drop adaptation and swap on like redirection. And that would still be pretty good for as an early setup, something like this. And then that puts us about at our 30 energy for if you don't have a potato on Mesa. But this is the setup that I would aim for. And if you do want to, for combat discipline, you can do this. I would use a base rank combat discipline, and then instead of Arcane or Molt Augmented, you would want to run Arcane Avenger, which gives you, if you have it maxed, 21% chance for crit chance. So it gives you Omega crit, but I do not like losing my own HP. But this is my setup for Mesa, and then for the regulators, here's my setup. We have Hornet Strike for base damage, Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot. Ideally you get Galvanized Diffusion, but I have not farmed it yet. Pistol Pestilence for Toxin and Status Chance, Jolt for Electric and Status Chance, giving us Corrosive, Heated Charge for some heat damage, so we have Corrosive Heat as our setup, Gunslinger for Fire Rate, Augur Pact for just flat damage, and Accelerated Isotope for Fire Rate. Now, ideally, you drop Accelerated Isotope for Lethal Torrent, which gives us more Fire Rate and Multi-Shot. But as you can see, this costs 11 and this costs 7, so I don't have enough Forma. And I was going to swap this to give me enough room for it, but then it messes with our elements and stuff, and we need them in this order to give us the proper heat corrosive that we want. Ideally, you swap Lethal Torrent over Accelerated Isotope or Augur Pact, whichever you feel you should get rid of. Augur Pact might be better to get rid of, because I know the percentage flat damage has diminishing returns. But that is my setup for the regulators, and that is our build for Mesa. And like I said before, we're only using the Adarza Kavat for Cat's Eye, giving us more crit chance, but then we also have Animal Instinct, which is always nice, and Prosperous Retriever to just double credit pickups, which is mostly just for the 1999 area because they have the caches, they give 100,000, and this has a chance to double them. And then Reflect is neat as well, but that's just kind of there. And if you do want my claws, it's nothing crazy. I just have Bite for crit and damage, Magnetic, Radiation Claws, Venom Teeth for Toxin, and then Swipe with the Balanced Posture. Nothing crazy, because as you can see, I don't have many mods for Kavats. But Companion's flexible. But yeah, that is my setup for Mesa. Thank you guys for tuning into the video. I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.